So then we get the build-up for Savage versus Steamboat, including Savage injuring Steamboat's throat. Then on Saturday night's main event, where Steamboat confronts Savage and George Steele kidnapping Elizabeth. We then get a Savage straight-to-camera promo, which is pretty short, and again, I haven't got any notes on it. And then Jeannie Oakland interviews Ricky Steamboat, who says that the dragon will scorch the back of Savage and will be the new Intercontinental Champion. Any thoughts on the bits here?
This is real. I remember this. I remember watching this, being like when I was a kid watching it on the video, because like I said, I wouldn't have been watching this at the time when it actually happened, but watching the video footage for this at the time, I remember being scared at thinking that Ricky the Dragon Steamboat was dead. Do you know what I mean? Like I was absolutely just, I remember this so vividly at the time being such a massive deal happening, and they do a great job in presenting it in that manner. The weird bit about it, after you see Ricky Steamboat being taken away in the ambulance, in the stretcher, should I say, up the aisle, you then get an interview with Mean Gene Okerlund and a doctor. I'm saying the phrase doctor in inverted commas. It's very much a wrestler, because who they've got, and just said, you look like you're probably smart, just chuck a lab coat on and give us some waffle about Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's throat. One thing they didn't do though was put a shirt on him. So this doctor is just stood there with a white coat on with no shirt on underneath, saying, Ricky Steamboat's, he's going to be fine. And then Mean Gene supposes that maybe it's through his entire strength of will and character, which is how he's managed to recover from such an injury. But like I said, this was real. This is a magnificent build to a match. Absolutely magnificent. And when you see footage of Ricky versus like a jobber on an episode of Superstars, and you see Macho Man coming down and the refs are trying to keep them apart, it just feels so personal. And so, like I said, I'm going to keep using the phrase real throughout this entire match. It feels so authentic and real, and these two genuinely really hate each other.
The match itself is for the Intercontinental title. It's 14 and a half minutes long. It ends when Randy Savage goes for a slam, but Ricky Steamboat reverses it into a small package, and Steamboat gets the victory. Why don't we start with you, Matt? What did you make of this?
This one, I was really looking forward to. Now, this was fast-paced as all hell, especially compared to the main event. And it was, to the point of, while I was taking notes, I almost struggled to take notes because so much was going on, but I couldn't quite keep up with it. And that did happen quite a few times. Now, I've definitely heard that, that this is, if you ask a lot of people about WrestleMania 3, this will say this is probably what they feel is the best match. And do you know what? It was pretty good. I got to be honest, I definitely did enjoy it. I mean, for me, the sort of finishing sequence was quite long in the sense of it was just near fall, so small package after roll up after small package after roll up, near fall, roll up. That was a little bit repetitive for me. I mean, in a way, I can see how it's. You can look at it as a good thing because at the end of the day, they're desperately trying to get the win, and if they can get that win, however they can get it, great. So that kind of is a good thing. But it was a little bit repetitive, that sequence. But other than that, I mean, for this particular time, I mean, these two definitely worked their asses off. The crowd was certainly well into it. And like I said, it was a lot more fast-paced than you'd expect. So this was actually really enjoyable. I did definitely have a lot of fun watching this one.
I think if you put this on now, I think you'd still say it was fast-paced. I think they are going at an unbelievable pace. It's thunderous. And I think that's what stands out about it. I don't think it's especially amazing as a match. I do think there's something about it that doesn't put it in that top tier for me. But what really stands out about it is just the pure pace that they go at it. And that's because I think they're trying to fit in a 20-minute match into 14. They haven't really got the kind of time that you would want to give them. Saying all that, I think the bit where they're kind of exchanging pinfalls and whatnot is the best bit for me. The way they're going back and forth, it gets super dramatic. The fans are like constantly thinking the match is over. There's the bit where Savage hits the elbow drop off the top rope, but there's no referee because he'd been previously knocked down. There's all that stuff. Savage coming off the top rope to the floor at one point with the double axe handle. They're just working their ass off. They're working so fast, and they are trying to get everything in. It's definitely the match of the night in my opinion. I mean, it's not a particularly controversial opinion ultimately, but it's perhaps, we spoke on the SummerSlam 92 episode about whether the Bret Hart Davey Boy Smith match was the best match in WWF history by that point, and this would be one of the matches that would contend with it. Ultimately, as time's gone on, there have been far better matches, but it stands out at the time amongst what it's amongst as a very, very, very good match.
Just before you come in, sorry, Tom, One thing I just wanted to respond to there, Ben, 'cause I'm glad you mentioned SummerSlam '92, because if I remember, was it Ultimate Warrior versus Randy Savage? Yeah, that match massively surprised me and massively, sort of surpassed my expectations. I was actually expecting that type of performance and that type of shock from this match, which I didn't really get. Not to say that I thought the match was bad by any stretch, but given how much I enjoyed, that Warrior and Savage match, I was kind of expecting that sort of thing.
I love this match. I think it's a masterpiece, personally. I think this is probably one of the best examples, along with Brett versus Owen, of doing everything largely within the constraints of the actual rules of a wrestling match, without any outside interference, without needing any gimmicks, without anything. This is just a straight, pure wrestling match, and I think it's wonderful. Whilst I appreciate they are moving at a hell of a clip during this match, they also know when to slow it down. The selling of both wrestlers, and I'm a huge Macho Man fan, and I don't really like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, but both of them in this match put on, in my opinion, the performance of their lives. I think they're selling for each other, which makes the other person look amazing, that everything they're doing means everything. There's such great impact for every single move. Everything is important. I love the fact that Ricky starts off really aggressive and Macho Man is a little bit unsure what to do, slows it down a little bit, goes outside the ring to recoup. The offense and the selling is tremendous. Macho Man's already starts targeting the kind of neck, sternum and throat area because he knows there's a weakness there. There's a moment where Macho Man hits a running knee to the back of Steamboat, and it looks borderline clumsy, but it looks like he's just trying to connect with anything to make sure that he gets some impact on him. The intensity from Macho Man's insane. I'm really glad you mentioned the top rope to the outside double axe handle, because it's easy to think of it now as being a reasonably basic move, but people weren't doing that then. Like, the stuff that these two were doing, the pace that they were working at, does not happen. There's a bit where Steamboat skins the cat and the crowd lose their mind when he does that, and then immediately Macho Man twats him out of the ring again.
Just gets straight out.
Yeah, and gets all the heat back on him. It's just wonderful. And what I really like about it is that they've got George Animal Steel outside of the ring as well, accompanying Steamboat, and Elizabeth obviously with Macho Man. But they obviously at the end, Animal Steel gets involved because he pushes Macho Man off the top rope. But their involvement doesn't distract away from the match. They add to the match. There's a lovely bit when Macho Man swings for the referee, which I always like. He swings for Dave Hebner. And all throughout the entire match as well, I really like the fact that Jesse Ventura keeps accusing Hebner of counting really slowly, which he even does at the end with the actual win. So again, it just undercuts his point the entire time, which it should do as the heel. The only criticism I have this match, I love, again, like you said, Tinky, I love the bit with all the false finishes and the pinfall. The only thing I would like more would be if the small package was cinched in a little bit tighter. It looks a little bit flimsy, if I'm being honest. But at this stage in the game, both wrestlers must be absolutely. So I can understand why it might not be, but I would just like it to be a little bit more snug. But other than that, that's the only criticism I can have of this match. I absolutely love it, and it is easily in my top 5 as well.
A bit more snug and with a bit more room would be nice. They're right in the corner of the ring.
In the middle of the.
If it was just in the middle of the ring, it would have been lovely, and it would be a bit more kind of snug. Then it would have been perfect. But the thing that you touched on there, which actually is the thing that I most like about it, is that it does look a little sloppy, but it looks sloppy in a good way, because it looks like they're just desperate to get their hands on each other. They're just desperate to try and win. This doesn't feel at all choreographed, which incredibly it probably was, which is weirdly, because that's what Savage used to do, and he was the only one who used to do it, and he used to face quite a lot of backlash from people backstage for doing so. But it genuinely doesn't feel choreographed because it is a little sloppy, because they're moving at such a lick. So I find that bit really fascinating, and I really like that bit about it. As I say, I think it's a good match. I don't know, it's just something, I can't even put my finger on it, why I don't hold it in the absolute highest regard. But it is a very, very good match, and obviously the best WrestleMania match we've seen thus far for the first 3 WrestleManias, I would suggest.
And to nobody's surprise, it's my match of the night.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to touch upon actually was the George Steele interference, because again, I agree that did add to it, because of the fact that, again, this is a story that's been going for well over a year. So we saw at WrestleMania 2, George Steele faces Randy Savage for the Intercontinental title, and George Steele is fascinated and besotted by Elizabeth. The fact that that was going on at the same time as they were planning, or not planning maybe, but sowing the seeds or putting in place the breadcrumbs for Danny Davis having switched the belt from Tito to Randy Savage, is a level of storytelling they don't get anywhere near in modern pro wrestling, which is crazy because it isn't exactly that advanced. It's really basic stuff. But the fact they weaved those stories in and out of one another during this time, that's quite impressive, which, again, they just don't do that kind of stuff now. And it's not hard. It's actually not. The fact that WWF in the late 80s could do it shows it isn't that hard.
Agreed.